Tee. Hello.
Hey, hello. Welcome to Girls
Girls
Gone
gone
Spooky.
spooky.
Wow. Oh, you just froze
Wow.
in that position.
Oh God,
It's still
scary.
stuck.
Oh no.
Yep.
With a scary smile?
Uh-huh.
Oh no. Okay, well, I'm not making
Okay,
that
wait.
face anymore. Don't worry.
Okay, it's back now. There we go.
Okay, good. Well, I'm Olivia, not a frozen demon in the machine.
And I'm Amy. And today we're talking about haunted churches.
Haunted churches. I was gonna give you a little tagline too, since I'm a not
Oh, yeah.
frozen demon in the machine. You're gonna be our soon to be gamer ASMR girl.
Yeah. You're gonna expose
uh,
me.
yeah, I am. I'm exposing you. So Amy's playing this game called Stardew Valley on Xbox with her
Yep.
boyfriend Dave.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, "Do you think I can make money on Twitch?" And I thought it was called Stitch or Snitch or
Snitch.
something. So I was almost said Snitch, which is embarrassing. But she beat me to it. And then I proceeded to just expose myself now. But it's
Uh-huh.
fine. All about transparency here. We're
Yep.
all about transparency.
We're real here.
We're real. Transparent ghosts,
Mhm.
transparent truths.
Demons? Yes.
Demons,
Uh-huh.
probably. I mean, probably they can be whatever they want to be.
Yep.
I have been listening. Okay, sorry. Let me finish this. Let me finish this
Okay.
tangent.
Uh-huh.
So they're playing Stardew Valley. We're like, could she make money on Twitch? I say yes, because. And she was like, do I have to wear a low cut top? And I was like, no, because you're just so cute and like adorable and you have that sweet voice. And people would probably just be like, oh my God, I could just like fall asleep to that. And she's like, it's like gamer ASMR. I was like, yes, cutie patootie gamer ASMR. So
That's my
I'm
channel
going to.
name.
Exactly. Cutie Patootie Gamer ASMR. 69.
Yep. Perfect. Just throw that in there for
for
some.
the search optimization.
Exactly. Yes.
Why did I do this like a cat on the keyboard? For the search optimization.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, my brain is really popping off today.
Mhm.
I don't know what I had one last thought to share with that, and now I think it's gone. Oh, I was gonna say I'm gonna put this as a polling question. Do we think Amy could make bank cheese cheddar as a cutie pie, cutie patootie gamer
Oh,
ASMR
you.
girly?
You
Me.
crazy.
You're
Here we go.
crazy. Um
This is my audition tape. Oh, I actually really like that sound.
yeah, it's good because I got the
This one's
nails right
yeah,
now.
yep. I have no
um
nails.
I was I just started rewatching The Office for the first time in forever, and I'm not even like watching it for the beginning. I think I'm on season
Mhm.
2. But just by chance, like Noah just has picked an episode and we just started there because I was like, I just want to watch something dumb and light because we've been watching Masters of Air, which is
Oh,
just
yeah.
so intense and it's really good, but it's a little boring. But we've also been watching Band of Brothers, which is really good
Mm.
and really intense
Yes.
because I'd never seen it. So, but I was like, I just need to just watch something mindless before bed. And so he was like, oh, well, how about whatever? And I was like, how about The Office? So, and then last night, just by chance, we're watching the Halloween episode where Michael has the second head and Dwight is the Sith Lord.
Yeah.
And he's like, has to fire someone. And he's like,
Mhm.
pretends like the second head is whispering to him. And he's like,
Yeah.
you're right. There was someone missing from that list. And he's like, who? And Dwight's like, no,
No,
no, not
not.
me. No, not Dwight. Quiet you.
I say quiet you so
Same.
often.
Same.
Quiet you.
Quiet you. It is so true. Rainn Wilson is a
Mhm.
gift to humanity.
Yeah, he really is. Love
Oh
him.
my God. Radio Russell as Terry Carnation.
Yeah.
Dark
Yep.
Air as Terry Carnation. Oh my God.
Mhm.
He is so freaking funny. And I just came across something random the other day. I don't know the details, so I'm not going to pretend to remember them. But he had like a crazy childhood. Did you know about
Yeah,
this?
I think I did. His mom, like, abandoned them or something,
Yeah.
I think.
And then the dad was like, we're going to go live in the wilderness, and
Right.
like raised him in the wild.
Wow.
Like not in civilization is my
Mhm.
understanding. So anyway, I'll look up more information for next week's episode, but I was like, "Oh my god, this guy just gets
Yeah.
cooler and cooler." And I mean,
He
he's a weirdo in his own right, but he's not like a weirdo.
Yeah. Yeah. He seems really cool. I would invite
Mhm.
him to my hypothetical dinner party.
Oh, yes, he's for sure. Oh, he's such a good one.
Yeah. He'd be interesting to have.
Who are
He doesn't
your what it's usually 5, right? Who are yours?
Oh god, I don't know. I guess right now it's
The
Rainn
world's
Wilson.
listening.
Let's just invite everyone from the Office cast.
Yes, basically.
That's pretty much
Love
it
that.
right now.
Perfect. That's perfect.
But who
Oh my
else?
god,
Do
so
you
funny.
watch Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix?
We've seen a couple. I mean, he's seen probably all the old season, not the
Okay.
newest one, but I've seen a couple. Like I watched San Francisco and I
Mhm.
watched Dublin, and like I watched
Yeah.
ones that felt like relevant to me, I guess,
Mhm.
because like places I've been.
Yeah.
But it's really cute.
I really like that show a lot, and I like him, so he'd be invited.
Yeah.
He's a
Oh,
weirdo
that's
though too.
cool. He's so weird.
Yeah.
He's just like seems so happy.
Yes, he
Like
does.
happy to be alive. Just like
Mhm.
wow, like I get to go around and eat good food and like what a
Yes.
life I lead. Like
Yeah,
it's just like, oh my god, what a sweetheart.
I know. Yeah, he's
So
like
cute.
maybe a little awkward, but who
Yeah.
cares? Who's not?
Yeah. Who cares? Who
And
cares?
yeah, why wouldn't you be just the happiest person ever if that was your job? I would love
Literally. Well, and
that.
even I think the San Francisco episode it was, he gets food poisoning for the first time
Really?
ever in the
Oh
history of
no.
the show. And
Uh-huh.
he went to this really famous like seafood place. I think it's Swan Oyster Depot or something like that. I can't remember. It's on Polk, which is like where like near where I used to live. But I mean, I don't know if that was it, but like he had that. And it's just like a lot of raw fish. And I was just like, I feel like
Yeah.
that probably was it.
Mhm.
But anyway, then he like gets up, goes to the fucking farmer's market and is like pounding like tri-tip sandwiches the next day. I'm like,
Yeah.
how? And he like is kind of like hee hee about it. He was like, I was up all
Mhm.
night. Oh, can you believe that? Like you're just like, oh
Uh-huh.
my God, are you
Wow.
okay?
He's
So
dedicated
funny.
to his craft.
So dedicated to his craft. Nom nom nom.
Yeah. Nom nom.
Craft. Nom nom
Yeah.
nom. Oh man. There was one other thing I was going to say. I feel like I wanted to make a list because I've been listening to so many spooky pods lately
Mhm.
and just have like come across so many creepy videos and like fucking just scary stories. And I feel like this is going to be such a pump fake. I'm sorry. I wanted to like make a list of all the like little detail things I wanted to write down and I didn't. So now of course I don't remember like any
Mhm.
of them except for
Okay.
there's a theory that demons can be invisible and also two places at once.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
I was like, no,
Just
I'm
giving
good.
them even more power. That's
Like
yeah.
invisible, fine, and like obvious because
Yeah.
like, you know, that like
Yeah.
certain activity you can't see who's doing it. But
Right.
like two places at once, that
Yeah.
changes how I'm going to watch horror movies because you know sometimes you're like, "Oh, well thankfully he's over there. Like that guy's safe."
Right.
No,
No, he
not
could be
not
anywhere.
safe. And
Yeah.
actually I feel like the Exorcist Believer movie kind of like had some of that. Not that like not two places at once confirmed, but like could move so quickly between places,
Yeah. 'Cause
which makes sense, I guess.
was it the same demon that possessed both the girls in that
Yes.
movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yikes.
same demon. Yeah. Yeah, that was a spooky movie. It was like very like it was a little tongue in cheek, I guess, but it was very spooky. And actually, I did write down a couple of like books and movies I wanted to bring up on the pod based
Mm-hmm.
on what we've been talking about and what we're talking about today. One, I came across a book that was like for people who read this, like one of
Oh.
those.
Uh-huh.
And it's called Nestlings. And it's about a couple who moves into a New York City apartment. And after their first like week or so, they start to realize like the people in the building and the building itself, there's like something wrong. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know anything more about that, but I was like, oh my God, Kat.
Interesting. Yeah. It sounds
Our
like that.
apartment story.
Uh-huh.
Totally.
Wow.
And then, so I'm going to see Dune 2 tonight, but one of the movies that was on the possibility list is called Imaginary. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the preview, I think,
I
in a
haven't even seen the
movie.
preview. I don't know how I hadn't even heard about this until someone was like, "Do you want to go see this?" And I was like, "I
Yeah.
mean, yeah."
So tell us, what's it about?
Well, so it's basically about I think it's about a woman who like moves or comes home to her childhood house and like is remembering that she had a quote unquote imaginary friend named
Right.
Chauncey,
Mhm.
who like isn't an imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Um and it's like in a teddy bear, like the spirit is in
Uh-huh.
some sort of teddy bear. What else did I miss anything? Was there more to
No,
it than that?
I think that's the gist, which
Okay,
is
I'm gonna
so
see it.
scary.
It's so scary. It's
Yeah.
so scary. Oh, and I do remember one of the other scary things
Oh,
that I wanted to
okay.
share.
Mhm.
So I was listening to Two Girls, One Ghost, and they were doing listener stories.
Hmm.
And oh my God, they had someone write in who had a lot of like really scary experiences, some of which they were like, I actually can't tell you because it makes me so uncomfortable and like frightened to retell them. So I was
Mhm.
like, okay, those are the ones I want to hear, but it's okay.
Yep.
Protect
Uh-huh.
yourself.
Yep.
Um, but um, wow. Why can't I keep a train of thought today? It
You've
just
got
goes,
this.
whew. Okay, I got it. Listener story. And anyway, so like she tells some like really spooky ones. And then she's like, oh, one other thing. I almost didn't bring it up because I'm like so afraid of the nightmares coming back. But I came across through their podcast. She was like, I came across through your podcast, the Dear David story.
Mm.
And the second I listened to the whole thing and I thought, that's so weird. That's so weird. And then I went onto your Instagram and saw the photo of him. And I immediately like threw my phone across the room because I recognized
Oh
him
no.
because
Oh no.
yeah, she was like 11 years ago, so like
Mm.
5 or 6 years before the Dear David saga was reported by
Yeah.
that guy Adam on Twitter.
Mhm.
She had these like the series of nightmares where
Oh god.
Dear David would like tap on her, pull her out of bed, take her into this like creepy space, and
Mm.
then be met by this like, I don't know, like friend of David's, I guess, who had a burlap sack over his head
Great. Uh-huh.
with like a face drawn on in like black charcoal, like
Oh.
so scary. But they're like the bodies of two little boys. So she's
Oh.
like, they look like they're 6, 7 years old. Like, what the
Mhm.
fuck? And she's like, but it scared me so much. And I didn't even want to. She gave way more detail about the dreams, but I
Mhm.
don't remember all the detail. But she was like, I didn't even want to bring it up to you guys because I'm so terrified of those nightmares coming back. But like,
Yeah.
I had to say something because I only learned about like that maybe that wasn't, just a
Right.
dream because
Yeah.
of the podcast. And
Oh
there's been
god.
so much questioning about like, is this real? Like he's got a movie deal. So people are
Yeah.
like, okay, this was a fucking story, which like clever, good job, but like it's not real. And then this woman comes out of fucking left field. I was like, oh my God, that's so
Yeah. That is
wow.
terrifying. Oh man.
So scary.
I can see why you would never want to invite those dreams back
No.
ever.
No. So, so, so scary.
Yeah.
Um, and then the very last thing on my very long list, I really just 15 minutes in, I'm like still rambling.
I love it.
Um, is Immaculate, the new Sydney Sweeney movie?
Oh, I haven't heard
Have
of
you
that
seen
one.
ads for this? Okay, first of all, I
Mm-mm.
love Sydney Sweeney. That woman is
Mhm.
a smoke show. And like,
Mhm.
I think not a great actress in some stuff, but she was so
Yeah.
good in Euphoria. I want to see Anyone But You. I haven't seen it yet, but anyway, she's in a new horror movie where she plays a novitiate, like a little nun in training.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just had to bring it up because I was like, this fits our theme so perfectly. So anyway, go
Yeah.
see
That's
Immaculate.
true.
Over to you for haunted churches.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I did see Anyone But You, and
Was it cute?
it was pretty good. It was
Okay, I'll
raunchy,
take it.
but you can expect that.
Raunchy.
Yes.
Okay.
But the Sydney Sweeney's acting in that was like, I feel like everything she said was sarcastic, which
Yeah.
I didn't like. Like, even when she
Love.
was
Yeah.
delivering a serious line, it came out in a
Oh,
tone that was like, maybe she was up speaking, or I don't know what it was,
yeah.
but um yeah, there's my 2 cents.
Interesting. Okay. 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 I'm gonna keep that in mind. I could totally see that from the preview, but like I haven't seen it
Mhm.
yet, so I'll
Yeah,
I'll text you once I see
you
it.
check it out. Okay.
I will.
Perfect. Okay, so let's do some churches. So
Yay.
the first things I have come from Knoxville News, which
Ooh.
is Knoxville, Kentucky. Um and so these are little snippets from an article that they wrote. And here's the intro. So, a Confederate soldier returns each autumn to search by lantern light for his missing arm and leg.
Oh.
Blood, yeah, blood seeps from a mausoleum that is the resting place of a 7-year-old girl killed in a tragic accident. A figure, dark, hooded, and transparent, wanders among tombstones seeking its lost grave. 3 ghost stories with one connection. These hauntings all occur at East Tennessee churches. So, there we go.
Hmm.
So, the Reverend Dr. Joe Tanner of First Presbyterian Church in Tennessee doesn't believe in ghosts, but he has seen one. So, he admits to seeing these mysterious lights that are supposed to come from the lantern of a Confederate soldier who lost his arm and leg in the war. Um, and yeah, they were amputated at the church that he now, is it
Oh.
works at? Preaches at? I don't know. What's the right word?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Works at. I mean, why is that so
Yeah,
funny?
I don't know. Like, I've never thought about what terminology you would use for
Like,
that
hey,
situation.
pastor, where are you going? Work
Just off to work. Yeah. So he works there, I guess.
with my boss, God,
Yeah, the big man.
the big man.
Yeah. So the church where he works it was a former Civil War hospital. So
Okay.
that's why
Got
that
it.
person is missing their arm and leg. So here's the story how he heard it. In 1863, there was a brigade from Kentucky called the Orphan Brigade. From what we could gather, this young fellow was wounded at Chickamauga. The troops came through the Cleveland area up to Knoxville, and that might be when he was brought here. So that brigade suffered heavy casualties. The young soldier lost an arm and a leg to amputation, but he didn't die from his injuries. But
Hmm.
he lived on, stayed in that area though, and now this ghost that comes back is the armless and legless young man, and he
Hmm.
started appearing after this man died.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Like he came back in a different form,
yeah,
sort
like in
of.
a different part of his life that was obviously very traumatic if you lost
Yeah.
your limbs.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see. And he says lots of others have seen the same thing. Um, and then he says they saw it past tense because the lights haven't been seen since 1999, which is the year an addition was built onto the church that blocks the window from which this person was always seen. So it's
Hmm.
like kind of weird. I don't know. How do you explain
Yeah.
that? You could only see this apparition from one of the windows of the church,
Mm-hmm.
and then when it was covered, it was gone.
Yeah.
So
That
I
is
don't know.
weird.
Hmm.
Spooky.
Very spooky. But he said one funny thing that he tells this ghost story, and he's like, don't worry, not only is he armless, he's also harmless, which is really funny.
But
Good sense of humor. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So then the other church that they mentioned with, or I guess this isn't, it's a cemetery in a church. So it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
counts.
Yeah, it
Um,
counts.
yeah. So this is across the street from Tanner's church. This is First Presbyterian. It's St. Luke's Episcopal Church. And in the church's graveyard sits the blood-stained mausoleum. So the story of that is that on October 18th, 1871, 7-year-old Nina Craig Miles was taking a buggy ride with her grandfather, Dr. Gideon Thompson.
Hmm.
And he lost control of the horse and buggy. It ran in front of a train, and he was thrown to safety, but Nina was killed.
Oh.
Yeah. So her parents actually built St. Luke's, the church, in memory of Nina, whose body lies inside a white marble mausoleum in the church's graveyard. And shortly after Nina was placed inside the mausoleum, red, blood like streaks appeared on the
Oh.
outside of the structure, and they cannot be washed away.
Oh my
So
God.
I don't know what's going on there, but a little spooky.
That's, yeah,
Hmm.
weird.
Kind of dark. I don't really know what to make
Yeah.
of that. But
Maybe she's bitter that he got saved and she
yeah,
didn't.
yeah, I might be if I were her.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, so that one's just weird. But I had one thing that was kind of interesting when I was reading this. They did interview a few different pastors, reverends, whatever they
Mm.
were, and all of them were like not believing in ghosts, but open to it, which somehow
Mm.
feels a little bit like disconnected to me somehow.
Yeah.
And particularly thinking about a ghost haunting a church, which is
Yeah.
a sacred building.
Yeah.
But they were also open to it, which makes sense when you think about what like blind
For
faith
sure.
in God
Yeah. The
is.
afterlife. I mean,
Right.
it's like they
Yeah.
should. I feel like Catholics don't believe in ghosts, but I
Mhm.
feel like other sects, maybe less intense sects of
Yeah.
Christianity, yeah, like I know what you mean, where it's like, ooh, that
Hmm.
doesn't seem right, but logically it seems right. If you
Yes.
believe in heaven and the afterlife, then what if
Hmm.
people don't make it there? You know?
Right. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So I just thought that was interesting that they all
Yeah,
acknowledged it that way.
yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah. But then that was all for the Kentucky ones. And then
Hmm.
I got derailed. So I
Oh, let's
apologize in
go.
advance.
That's fine.
But these are um, kind of churches, but
Hmm.
it's cults. So
Let's go.
churches.
I'm in. I'm in.
um,
I love that interpretation. That's
because
so good.
if you think about it, there are, like, at least the ones that I'm talking about today,
Hmm.
they are founded by people who have these extreme religious ideals,
Yeah.
and then they create their own church.
Hmm.
So,
That's a church.
yeah, it's a church.
Doesn't have to be a physical structure to be a church. I'm
Yeah.
so here for this.
Okay, so the first one is the Branch Davidians, which, have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, well, let's
Oh
do
my
it.
God.
So
Yay.
there's a really good thing on Netflix about this if you are
Oh,
captured by this story. I don't remember what it's
okay.
called, but it was interesting. So the story is, so the Branch Davidians, I don't know if offshoot is the right term for it,
Hmm.
but they like split off from Seventh-day Adventists.
Hmm.
And Branch Davidians was started by someone named Victor Hautef, who believed that the Messiah that's referenced in the book of Isaiah was not Jesus, but somebody who was yet to come.
Hmm.
So they split off, and then a long time passes, sometime in the early 90s, maybe late 80s, I don't know for sure. a man named David Koresh claimed to be the Messiah that was referred to in the book of Isaiah, and he was appointed to lead the Branch Davidians at this compound that they lived at Mount Carmel in Texas. And Koresh believed that he was there to help guide the followers in his group through the second coming of Christ and the impending apocalypse. So,
I
um,
love when they integrate the impending apocalypse.
yes, of course, it's always the apocalypse.
Yeah, the
Gotta be
rapture.
ready. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
right now. It's
Mhm.
happening.
Mhm. As we
I love
speak.
it. The
Yep,
drama of it.
I know. Yep. So, throughout their time living at Mount Carmel, there's, I guess, not that much that's known about their day to day, but they did worship, but they basically were
Mhm.
worshiping David Koresh, not
Ew,
anything
so
higher.
weird.
Yeah. So, I can't think of the name of that other cult where the guy fathered like hundreds of
Oh,
children, but
I can
he
see the
was.
photo in my
Mhm.
mind, and I don't know his name.
Yeah, it was, I think, similar-ish to that.
Mhm.
They think that David had at least 14 kids from different
Ew.
women in this cult. So, anyway, um, it was a bit mysterious, and throughout their time, there were rumors about what went on there in the compound, particularly related to women and children, which you can imagine what that might be,
Yeah,
and also
gross.
stockpiling illegal firearms and weapons. Because they were preppers for the apocalypse.
Right. Of
So
course they were.
you have,
Preppers.
yep, you gotta have your guns and grenades and things that we just really don't need to have.
No. A
But
lot of canned peaches and a
yes,
lot of guns.
exactly.
Oh
That's all
my
you need.
god.
So, yeah, those were the rumors. And eventually, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms received a warrant to search their
Mm.
compound. And the search obviously was supposed to be a surprise, but somehow it,
Not how that goes.
yeah, no, somehow somebody tipped off David
Oh.
and they took up defensive positions and they like barred
Oh,
entry. um,
like a military unit.
yes, yeah. And this is insane. It led to a 51-day standoff between the Branch Davidians and the US government, like the FBI,
Oh
etc.
my god.
Yeah. So
That's
they
crazy.
they started negotiating. It was pretty peaceful at first. Koresh said that they would come out of the compound if he was allowed time to finish writing some essential religious texts that could only
Ah,
come from him, of
of course.
course. Yeah, so he needed
Messiah.
the time. Yes.
My god.
But long story short, God told him not to go outside.
Ah,
So
right.
that's how we ended up at 51
God's
days.
like, I've had a change of heart.
Yeah, keep
Just
writing.
stay.
Yes,
Keep writing.
exactly.
And being creepy.
So, yeah, exactly. So he never went out. And as the standoff just was dragging on, the FBI eventually had to use explosives to create entry points into the compound where they were going to use tear gas to incapacitate people that were inside and get them
Wow.
to come out.
Yeah.
But being preppers, they had gas masks. And so they were
Oh,
able to withstand it for a few days. But over these days, they continued to pump tear gas into the building.
yeah.
And I don't know if there was some sort of chemical reaction that happened or what, but a
Oh
huge
god.
fire started. And I'm going to skip terrible details, but 76 people died
Oh.
from the fire, mainly. The majority of
Oh,
those
man.
people were women and children who were
Of
hiding
course.
in a cement bunker that they had fled to. But I think they died of suffocation in there because there was no, like, the
Air,
building
yeah.
above was burning. So,
Yeah. Oh my
That's
God. That's
mhm,
heartbreaking.
it's awful.
Fucking David, you stupid dick.
I know. And
God.
he died during this whole thing from a gunshot wound.
Oh.
The remaining Davidians say that he was killed by an FBI agent, but
Hmm.
the FBI says that it was self-inflicted. So
Oh.
kind of don't know.
Interesting.
Um, but yeah, so that's long story for that, for a very brief little bit of paranormal
Oh
stuff
my God,
now.
no.
um, that there was an article in the Texas Monthly, and this was actually from 2003, and it talked about the surviving Branch Davidians members and the people who are now the caretakers of what's left of this compound, because there were
Mhm.
several buildings, only one burned down.
Yeah.
And so this caretaker, he said, I hear children laughing. Of course, I hear other things too, like dogs.
Oh.
I figure the dogs are real, but the children aren't. Walking the
Mm.
property, all of a sudden I'm blanketed by a cold chill, as if I'm being watched or somebody's got a gun on me.
Oh
So,
God.
yeah. So,
I mean, even if no one had died there, like a
mhm,
lot of trauma.
mhm,
Being tear
definitely.
gassed for days. And I mean,
Yeah.
like, I understand why the FBI did that, but
Oh,
also,
yeah.
like, shit, like, there were kids in there.
I know. Yeah.
Ugh. Were there men in the cult too?
Yeah. They all,
Oh,
my
fuck.
understanding, they weren't in the bunker, from what I
Yeah.
understood. I think a lot of
Uh-huh.
them are the ones who maybe died of like gunshot wounds, because there
Oh,
was gunfire exchanged eventually
yeah.
between them. So I think a few men died that way.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, you pull some guns on the FBI, they're probably
yeah,
gonna, in like a
yeah,
military formation, they're
yes.
probably gonna shoot back. Yeah.
Although it's
Yikes.
weird because they still don't know who started the gunfire. And they actually think that it might have been an accidental firing on the
Oh
part of an
God.
FBI agent, and that like triggered them to
Yeah.
start the fight. Um,
Shocking that the accident was on the FBI side,
yeah,
not other way around. Like a bunch of
right.
untrained
Yeah,
wackos up
right.
against, oh my God.
Yeah, at least I think I have that right. I know
Yeah.
that the question of who started it is there. I don't
Mhm.
remember which side it was on, but
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of weird stuff there. But the
Yeah.
other part of this article that got me to the next story is
Mhm.
that people often want to come visit this compound, like
Mhm.
as a part of dark tourism. I don't know if you've heard of that
Oh,
concept,
no.
but it's like people who seek out going to these really dark places, like
Yeah.
Chernobyl, this place, and
Oh.
the next one, which is Jonestown, which
Oh,
I'm sure
shoot.
we've all
Oh, that
heard
you said Jonestown and I got shivers just
of.
up my back. Oof. Creepy as
It's,
hell.
yeah, it's terrible.
And it's
So,
like terrible, terrible, like devastating.
mhm, yeah. So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
It's
Let's talk
awful.
about
Let's talk
it.
about
It's awful. Perfect.
it. So, yeah, I guess, yeah, that's the through line that I had, was this dark tourism, because a lot of people want to visit this place too,
Mm,
which is the Jonestown compound.
yeah.
Um, but I'm sure people know this story, but just a brief bit about
Mhm.
it. Um, this was founded by Jim Jones. He basically believed that he could lead people to like peace, I guess, because there were elements of like radical Christianity, um, but also he was very socially, I guess I would also say radical, because he was a passionate advocate for racial equality. He was endorsed by like very liberal politicians at the time, like Harvey
Yeah.
Milk. So he had this very idealistic sort of thing going on. And so people followed him. It was called the People's Temple. And he was very fearful of a nuclear holocaust. So he, again, the apocalypse, and he wanted
Always.
his followers to be safe. So he created his compound in very rural part of Guyana in South America. And this compound basically was a small town. It grew and grew to be pretty big. And there was some like sketchy stuff that happened there. Like some people described weird punishments that they had for children, how they loudly shared his sermons over loudspeakers that like anyone in
Oh,
the area would hear, and also
yikes.
that he would sometimes speak over the loudspeaker like to chastise people for doing something. So it's like public
Ugh.
shame in a way.
Yeah.
um so weird things like that, but overall they were actually kind of respected members of their communities. They kept up appearances and all of that. So there was no issue really until people back in the US were like, my kid has been taken to this place and I have no idea
Yeah.
what's going on there. So there was actually a custody battle over one of the
Oh
children
my
that had been brought
God.
there. And custody was awarded to the parent left in the US. So then it was
Oh
like they have to
God.
come and get this child and they're
Hmm.
going to see what's going on here, and people started to get really suspicious. So this made Jim Jones very paranoid, and he quickly had his followers go up in arms. So they became like a military group,
Mhm.
basically. They had people with machine guns, machetes, and they threatened to fight outsiders to the death, basically, if they tried to intervene.
I actually didn't know really much detail about this except for how it ends.
Hmm.
So I'm actually like, thank you for doing the
Yeah.
synopsis because
Yes.
this is like chilling. Like imagining being that parent in the
Hmm.
US and being like, my psycho ex
Yeah.
brought my fucking kid down there
Hmm.
and I want them back. And then
Yeah.
to be like, oh, wait, they're
Yeah.
militarizing now. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that would be so
Yeah. I
terrifying.
know. I can't imagine. And
No,
yeah, this is a total departure from our topic, really,
no,
but
it's fine.
it's
That's
so
so
interesting.
interesting. It's horrible.
So,
Let's talk about it.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they are armed. Eventually, the US sent Congressman Leo Ryan and a group of delegates to like really investigate what was happening in
Mm.
this compound. And initially, they were let in for like a peaceful meeting, but only a day later, someone attempted to stab the congressman. And so they all fled back to the airstrip, including with some members of Jonestown who were like, I have to get out of here. They wanted to
Yeah,
defect.
this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because of that, then they opened fire on them when they
Oh
reached the
my God.
airstrip. So I this article that I was reading didn't have the exact number of delegates who died from that attack. I know there were some survivors, but Congressman Ryan was shot and killed, so he died there.
That's crazy.
Yes, insane.
I wonder if they had any idea going in how dangerous that was going to be. Like bodily.
Yeah, probably not.
No.
Or maybe not until you actually got there and like saw
Yeah.
the machine guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it started out so different than the way it ended.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
because it's like, oh, there's just a bunch of like hippies living out in like the
mhm,
wilderness of South America. Like,
right.
how bad could it be? And then you get there
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, really bad. Really,
really
really bad.
terrible.
Holy shit, really
Yeah.
bad.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So
Fuck.
that quickly set something that Jones had been preparing for into motion. And it's really weird to me that he had been preparing for this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he called it revolutionary suicide. So, for whatever reason, he thought that this was the only way for them to proceed after the murder of Congressman Ryan. So it was a mass suicide of all of his followers. It was 909 people
Oh my
who
God.
died by drinking Kool-Aid, basically laced with
Yeah.
cyanide and Valium.
Oh my
So
God.
that is, I read that that was the highest number of casualties of US citizens until 9/11, um, which is insane. It's a massacre.
Oh,
That's why they call it the
yeah.
Jonestown Massacre.
Oh my God. I am covered head to toe in goosebumps. Like, I have goosebumps on my pinky toes. Like, that is, that's
Yeah,
so horrible. Oh my
it's
God.
sickening. And yeah, he didn't even drink the Kool-Aid. He died by a gunshot wound.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, and there are images of this that I hadn't seen
yeah.
before. It is so disturbing.
It is so
Um,
disturbing.
but yeah, nowadays there's nothing
Did
left.
anyone did anyone survive? Like, did anyone just
Yes.
not drink it?
Some people got away, and there was in this article, they said one woman was pretty elderly and she slept through the entire thing and no one disturbed her. And then she woke up and there's 900 dead people at the compound,
Oh my
which,
God, I was thinking like good for you, girl, but like
yeah,
no, that would be like waking to a nightmare.
yes, yeah. But
Oh my God.
better to have slept through it. I
Yeah.
don't know. Um, but yeah, the I was gonna. I don't even know if I should say this. The most disturbing part. It's all disturbing, but the children at this
Yeah.
compound, their parents are the ones that gave them the
No.
Kool Aid. It's like,
I know.
how could you do that? How could you be so fanatical about
Yeah.
something that you'd be willing to do that to your child?
Kill your kid. I mean,
That's
because at that point, that's not suicide, that's murder.
right. It is. Yeah. And honestly, this is murder of 900 people on his part.
Oh, 100%.
So,
100%.
yeah.
Ugh.
There nowadays
Fuck
is,
you, Jim Jones.
I
Fuck
know.
you.
Yeah, seriously. There's nothing left of Jonestown anymore other than some like rusty cars, but the
Mhm.
whole where it was is now like an open field. It was jungle before, but now it's
Right.
just like overrun with
And he is a fucking
deforester.
deforestation.
Yeah,
God.
I know. He's the worst. So, but people, like I said, still want to go here for
Yeah.
these dark tourism outings.
Yeah.
And yeah, they say that a lot of bodies, the ones of US citizens, mostly were taken back to the US,
Yeah.
but a lot were left unclaimed. So
Oh.
this field is
Oh my
probably
God.
strewn with remains. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if there are spirits around
Oh,
or
yeah.
at least a very dark energy.
Oh my God, they
So
didn't even like bury them there. They just left them.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened, but like 900 bodies is so
So
overwhelming.
many.
I
So
don't
many.
I don't know what you would do.
Oh my God.
But
Blech.
yeah. So
Gross.
that is technically a church because
Yeah,
they
it is
worship something.
a spooky motherfucking church.
Mhm. Yeah.
I
So,
think that's in line with our theme.
yeah. But anyway, that was all I had.
Oh my God, those are good ones. I am like so impressed with you that you thought of that interpretation because I just was like a haunted church. Um,
Well,
oh, it's a
no,
church and it's
because
haunted.
that's what I thought at first, and then I was like, "Oh, well,
I
this
can
is kind
switch
of
it.
a church." Yeah.
I love it. No, I love it. Um, okay, well, so I have, let me see, one, two, three, four. Three of them are like little quickie ones on
Okay.
from Reddit, but then
Mhm.
one I went into like a little more background, which is gonna like have a bit of a tangent to it. So I'll just start there.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about Helltown, Ohio.
Wow.
Um,
What
and
a
this,
name.
yeah, What a name. So, also known as Boston, Ohio. I
What?
don't know. Like, I think Helltown, I think, is actually like a specific portion of Boston, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a larger region called Boston Mills, which is in Summit County, and it's in the Chata. Why can I never say that word? The Chata
Chattanooga?
Yahuga. Yeah, just Chattanooga.
Chattahoochee?
No, it's. Why didn't I write it down? Hold on, I'm looking it up.
I don't know. Chattanooga is in
No,
yeah, Tennessee.
Cuyahoga,
Okay.
Cuyahoga Valley.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
like the national park area. So, um, okay, so a little background on Helltown. So, in 1806, the first mill of Summit County was built. Many followed, and with them, many people followed as well. The paper factory, which I don't know if you've ever been near a paper factory,
Mm-mm.
listeners, they smell like ass. They smell
Really?
so incredibly
Oh,
bad.
like
Like
what?
worse than Greeley or whatever that horrible blood place
Yeah.
is.
Um,
Oh my
the
god, there's a place
feedlots.
near yeah, there's a place near where Amy, well, kind of near where you live,
Hmm.
in Colorado that literally just smells like blood.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
like cow manure.
yeah,
Yeah.
manure and blood. It's disgusting. I would argue paper mills smell worse. Like it's
Wow.
so many chemicals, which you wouldn't think. Like you're just like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, paper, whatever.
Yeah.
It's stanky.
Hmm.
Um, so that already like sets a weird
Yeah,
tone.
it does. That's for sure.
um, but the paper mill was actually like created this like booming area. So Boston Mills was like the place to be in the
Hmm.
early 1800s. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a like scare in the 1970s. Basically, that like environmentalists were like, our parks weren't being protected. And President Ford passed a law to say a bunch of laws actually that impacted a lot of these towns where they said, like, by law, we're creating a national park here.
Hmm.
And so citizens of these towns had to just like up and leave, even though they'd like lived there for their whole lives or for
Yeah.
generations or whatever. So it's like actually quite sad. Cool that like environmentalists actually had that kind of sway. But the shitty part is most of those towns never actually became national parks.
Mm, of
So
course.
yeah, so Helltown is one of those cases. So it's just this creepy motherfucking abandoned city.
Okay.
So very weird. So the government was free to buy land from private property owners by that law. So they started buying up all of this land and then basically like they'd buy entire streets and then would put up signs that would say no access government property on houses, and then they demolish some of them. Like it just was shitty. So the demolishment, though, like I said, it ended up being delayed and then like canceled. So these homes were just standing vacant for a really long period, had graffiti all over them. And anyway, the fire department started using some of these houses for fire practices because the
Hmm.
government was like, well, you guys can access like for training purposes because we're going to demo these anyway. But so as you can imagine, the town is just looking like creepier and creepier
Hmm.
as time is going on. So it just has this like really eerie vibe to it, like graffiti everywhere, houses half on fire, like charred to a crisp, like weird.
Hmm.
So there are a ton of legends and stories in this place. So one being about mutants. So I'm going to take like a total tangent and then I will come back to the churches.
Okay. Wow.
So there's a popular legend that there was an accident at a nearby power plant where there was an explosion that essentially caused chemicals to come down into the area, like through the air and through the water, and that mutants were created.
Hmm.
Some are like extreme and say that they're like human mutants, and I'm like, what is this, X-Men? One that is like extremely popular, and there's like maybe some evidence to it, is something called the
Oh,
Peninsula Python, which
whoa.
is essentially a 30-foot or 10-meter python, a snake,
Oh my God.
that is said to try to attack and or eat humans.
Wow.
So like people, hikers, like dogs have like
Mm.
been gobbled or like tried, like been attacked by like what looks like a giant snake bite,
Oh
like
God.
crazy shit like that, finding other animals, like large animals with those
Hmm.
same markings, like half eaten and dead. And some people have even reported having seen it or having been attacked by it.
Hmm.
So it's hard to say. It's almost like Bigfoot. Like, okay, well, one guy
Yeah.
said he saw it. Does that mean he actually did? But
Hmm.
anyway, creepy
Wow.
vibe.
Weird.
Um, yeah. And there's actually one known case of a hiker coming into contact with the chemicals from this explosion, but he died the next day. So a lot of people are like, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a spirit that actually also haunts these woods. And so the idea is that it probably was either that hiker or some other person who came in contact with the chemicals and died as a result. But
Hmm.
it seemed like it didn't have quite the same effect on the slithery snake.
Yeah. Whoa. A
Scary.
python in
A python.
Ohio.
Yeah.
Wow.
Scary.
Very.
So another one is about a school bus. So there's an abandoned school bus, and it's said to be located basically in the middle of the forest where it's left just like with like overgrown growth and all this stuff.
Hmm.
There are a couple different legends. One is that a serial killer boarded the bus and killed all of the children in
Oh
it.
no.
Um, and there are others that like it was actually a group of people, like prisoners who like crashed their transport bus, and like anyway, just like bad vibes. A
Hmm.
lot of kids died. um they're just weird things that happen around this bus. One is that no matter what, it seems to be impossible to move. And that's not just since it's like so overgrown. They've been
Yeah.
trying to get like just get it like to a dump or whatever, and they just like cannot move it.
Hmm.
And people who go by, which like I'm curious if like dark tourism captures like spooky stuff too, because it's
Yeah.
like kind of in the same vein. But a lot of people want to go see this place, and
Hmm.
despite the fact that you're not supposed to like be there,
Yeah.
people say that they can see kids sitting in the windows of the bus, and that the killer, one of the killers, can be seen standing at the back of the bus smoking a cigarette.
Whoa.
And the one thing that people report like over and over and over again is the sound of kids screaming, which is
Hmm.
like
Awful.
so scary.
Yeah.
Um, there's a strip of land called Highway to Hell. There's a slaughterhouse. There's a morgue. I'm not going to read all of these because they're not really on topic. And so many of them have also been like debunked.
Hmm.
But I'll talk really briefly about the cemetery and church that are connected.
Cool.
And it's all, well, technically there are two cemeteries. So I'll start with that one.
Okay.
Um, like I said, there are two cemeteries. One is Boston Cemetery, which houses a few creepy legends. There's a ghost that's said to be just sitting on a bench there, just staring into the distance.
Whoa.
And people will like walk by and see him, and then like either approach him and he like disappears, or turn away for a
Whoa.
moment, turn back and he's gone. Like really weird vibe, and he just like
Hmm.
stares. So just kind of a creepy vibe. Um, there are some others that have been debunked, but the like root that all of these legends like point to is like why this town is so hellish,
Hmm.
is that allegedly the whole town was basically taken over by satanic worshipers. So that there are
Whoa.
people who like commute, satanic commuters,
Uh-huh.
satanic commuters who like come into the town and like do creepy satanic shit and like
Hmm.
basically either attract all this bad energy or summon scary crap, or
Hmm.
maybe it's them actually like quote unquote haunting things just to scare people or
Yeah.
whatever.
Whoa.
um The other one, and that's kind of a through line, the Satanism. But the other cemetery is connected to the church, and the whole thing is called Mother of Sorrows. And so this one is located in a forest, and allegedly no one has stepped inside for years because it's all in total decay. The headstones have like all like fallen over or overgrown, but a lot of really weird things happen there. So in the
Yeah.
cemetery, when it rains, there's a headstone where a face appears, like
Wow.
really quite clearly.
Hmm.
And it's weird because that like cement or marble, like that stuff can kind of have sort of designs, and I think our minds like piece it together, but it's like
Hmm.
looks intentional. I don't know. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Um, and then another like staring ghost is said to roam this cemetery as well, which is like very spooky. Um, and then the church itself. So the churches, both of them, are always closed. So there's the Boston Community Church, and then Mother of Sorrows. And Mother of Sorrows is covered in upside down crucifixes, which
Whoa.
don't get too excited because that actually has been sort of debunked because it's a Presbyterian church. And at the time that it was built, it was in the middle of the like modern Gothic era. And that was actually like really a popular kind of
Yeah.
design.
Oh,
Why they
weird.
would put it on a church, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, so
Very
anyway, I guess
strange.
like fine. But in this church, it's also said that like animals have been sacrificed, that there have been like remains found there that are like very clearly a part of like satanic sacrifice and
Mm.
worship. Um, and what's weird is, again, like allegedly no one has walked into Mother of Sorrows since it was like closed and basically condemned by the government.
Hmm.
But people who like trying to be spooky like go by will often see candles lighting the windows.
Hmm.
So it's like a very weird, creepy energy.
Yeah.
So the other thing that happens, and I know I said I like mentioned Highway to Hell and um like some of these other like driving related things that tend to happen on certain
Hmm.
stretches of road. One thing that I'll share that like comes up a lot is that like if people are driving through the area, that there's like a ghost or a demon or a spirit or something that feels like it's like taking control of the car and will cause it to
Oh,
crash.
oh my God. Whoa.
And then often, like sometimes these things happen together, sometimes independently. There will be people dressed in like all black who will like swarm the car,
Whoa. Like
which
real
is,
people?
yeah,
Or,
real
oh
people.
my God. Okay.
Like they think like satanic worshipers. It's just a
Yeah.
creepy fucking vibe.
Yeah.
So
I won't be going there.
nope, no. So who knows if these people are just like squatters in this
Right.
church, just like whatever, or
Hmm.
actual devil worshippers? Who fucking
Yeah.
knows? But it's creepy as
Hmm.
heck.
Extremely.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell my other three little brief Reddit stories. So
Okay.
this is from Winter Sage, and it's called Church's Haunter. Oh my god,
Hunter.
Church's Haunter. Church is haunted. Pastor thinks we're crazy.
There we go.
So they say years ago for a church event I was forced into going to. LOL. We all had a terrifying experience. The setup was boys slept anywhere they wanted to downstairs and girls were free anywhere upstairs, except some rooms were locked off because the church was being renovated. Anyway, didn't matter too much as we were a small group. Night rolls around, and us girls migrated into the nursery, and most of the guys just crashed in the small indoor gym slash basketball court. Only one guy couldn't sleep. Above the basketball court are small windows to another room that was locked off, and I don't know why they called it locked off. Anyway,
Hmm.
whatever, locked. And
Yeah.
one of the guys kept seeing flashing lights and the silhouettes of people looking down on him, and he didn't stay in the gym long, so he left. Around the same time, myself and the other girls were playing apples to apples in the nursery. The door was closed, and next to it was a one-way window. Inside was like a mirror. So it was so kids didn't see their parents coming to check on them and start fussing. Well, I started hearing banging and scratching on the
Oh.
door. So I freaked out and looked up to see two grinning
Oh
faces
my God.
staring back at all of us. And remember, we're on the mirror side.
Mhm.
So it would be like looking in the mirror back.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yikes.
Yeah. So one of us bolted towards the door and we hear stomping down the hall, but no one was there. The pastor came up screaming at us and saying we were all just imagining it, but we know what we saw and heard, and all of us refused to go back.
Oh my God. That is so scary.
Crazy. So scary. And they were saying that like the only escape was basically like a storage closet that during this
Mhm.
time had no floor. So there was like nowhere they could have
To
like
go.
hidden. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was nowhere to go.
Oh my
So, and people
God.
are like, well, maybe like the boys were messing with you. And she's like, no, but we were on the mirror side.
Right.
Like there was no one else in the room with
Yeah.
us and they couldn't have shown us their faces.
Right.
So, anyway,
Oh God.
really fucking creepy.
Yeah. I know we've talked about this
Yeah.
before, but like the
Mhm.
grinning face,
Uh,
it
yeah.
just immediately is worse
It's
than,
so much worse. I'd rather like menacing, like
yeah, like
mean.
scowling. I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, grinning is like I know something you don't know,
Yeah.
and it's fucking
Yeah. Or
terrifying.
like taking pleasure in
Yeah.
your fear, which,
Very
yeah.
demonic
Mhm.
vibes,
Yeah. No
which
thanks.
is like alarming because it's a church. I think that's what
Yes.
it is about this whole topic that's scary to me is like,
Mhm.
isn't this supposed to be safe?
Right. Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
So yeah, this next one is the Ashes and Rainbows, and it's called "My Church is Definitely Haunted." Here are a few of the ghosts. So, for some context, my church was built in 1875, so it'll be about 150 years old next year. This was five. Oh no, this was 5 days ago. I was gonna say this
Oh,
is 5 years
wow.
ago, but no, this is 5 days ago. It's a big church and has 3 levels, but most paranormal activity happens on the top floor where the sanctuary and offices are. Directly off the sanctuary is a meeting slash lunchroom. We call it the GPR room. And the choir members wait to come out to service in the room, and all the committees meet there too. So lots of activity is always happening in there. None of the ghosts truly like crowds, but my mother does clean the church, and I will help her every so often with a few other with very few other living people around. So they're often there basically by themselves.
Yeah.
So all of these stories plus others that I'll share later, which she hasn't yet, have happened in the last 3 years going to this church. So all post 2020, which is like kind of
Yeah.
funny because it's so recent. Usually we're
Yeah.
reading older ones.
Mhm.
So story number one is called The Whispering Man.
Yikes.
In the GP, yeah, I hate it already.
Mhm.
In the GPR room, there's a male ghost who whispers in your ear, and I mean directly into your ear, and there's no warning, so he scares the shit out of you every time. His tone sounds confused, almost like he's asking a question. He'll repeat the question a minute later or so if you don't reply to him. But the thing is, you can't really understand the words as they're quite muffled. So you have to tell him, sorry, sir, I can't understand you.
Mhm.
And then he'll either repeat the question or leave. He will only talk to you if you're alone in the GPR room.
Oh.
Only once did he speak to me when there was another person in the room. At least me, my mother, and my sister have experienced the whispering man, and I've heard about him 4 times now.
God.
Yeah, so he
No.
sounds like mild, but at the same time,
Mhm.
like just fucking creepy. Don't
Yeah.
whisper in my
Right.
ear.
It's too close.
Too close. Personal bubble.
Mhm.
Um, Story number two, chatty ladies. In the sanctuary, there used to be 2 fancy green felted wooden chairs directly behind the altar. When the altar area was renovated, the green chairs were moved to a different area of the sanctuary. Sometimes I'd hear laughter and a conversation coming from the area the chairs are located, feminine voices, and I'd hear their voices and the pauses between one lady talking and another answering her back. Sadly, again, their voices are very muffled, so it's hard to hear them. But the chairs were recently sold and I haven't heard them since. I think I'm the only one who's experienced them, at least among my mom and sister. But just like kind of that one's like kind of
Yeah.
cute that they like sit
Interesting.
in the chairs and
Mhm.
gossip.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one. And then story number three, the little girl. There's a little girl who's probably no older than 8, who is the only ghost that you can actually see. She wears a white dress that from Googling dates back to late 1800s, early 1900s with Shirley Temple curls. She appears like a physical person, but kind of gray, like a black and white movie. She often plays and giggles at the back of the sanctuary. But one night last fall, I was sitting in the GPR room practicing music for choir, and I looked up in the doorway to the hallway because I thought I saw something move, and I definitely did. The little girl was pinching the sides of her dress up so she wouldn't trip and twirling around and around, watching her dress catch the air and with a
Mhm.
giant smile on her face. I sat there watching her and smiled to myself, sort of mesmerized by the pure joy she had on her face as the pianist played the song. The ghost girl looked up and saw me watching her, and just as quickly as I noticed her, she vanished within the
Aw.
blink of an eye. My mother and sister have heard her giggle, and my mother saw her, we think, or maybe like more of a swoosh of her dress as she went running across the back of the sanctuary where she plays. Very, very like kind of like mild, cute,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
And then
that's
I've got
another good one.
one. Yeah, exactly. And then I just have one like fucking creepy one, mainly because this is from the pastor.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Interesting.
So, yeah. Um this is from the Slimy Saint. First of all, I love that he's a pastor and he's fucking posting on Reddit
Uh-huh.
about ghosts.
Yep. Yes.
Um yeah. So he says, any experiences with haunted alt churches? He says, so I work at a church in northern Germany, and last night it was my turn to check one last time before closing the church. The church is about 750 years old.
Oh my god. So
Yeah,
much history.
so much history. It was dark outside, and I didn't bother turning the lights on. A few candles were burning near the altar about 15 meters from the entrance, so I walked down the aisle to blow them out. And halfway down the way, I suddenly had this ice cold feeling that I wasn't alone.
Mm.
I ran, blew out the candles, and got the hell out of there, almost jamming the lock in the process. And now I'm scared when I have to go near my church alone in the dark because I'm more than sure there is some spooky presence in there. All that wouldn't be that dramatic if I weren't the pastor who's now afraid of going to his own church in the evening. So there are just like a bunch of comments that come after this. It's not like so scary, but it's like creepy to think that like the priest doesn't even feel safe, or not
Yeah.
priest, I guess, but the
Pastor.
pastor doesn't even feel safe.
Yeah.
Um, and someone else commented, sensitive taste 1779 said, my girlfriend is a receptionist for a haunted church. I
Mm.
always try to get out of there before dark because it's chilling. I'm not a believer, but I've had so many unexplainable encounters there. I've seen shadows, heard voices or strange noises, and I get that same chilled feeling you described. She refers to the ghosts as her friends that keep her company,
Mm.
and that they've never tried to harm her in any way because she's working to better the church for its members. And then I
Mm.
really did like this. He said, if you're walking in every day to make that church a better, more open place to worship than it was the day before, then you're good. That's all a
Mm.
past or present member would ever want. Keep your intentions pure, and whatever it is won't bother you. Which I was like,
Yeah.
well, unless it's a demon, but okay, sure, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, freaked me out.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. That is
anyway, those are my
interesting.
haunted churches.
Yeah. Maybe it was on that Reddit thread or something I clicked
Mhm.
on where somebody commented kind of along those same lines of like,
Yeah,
the church is more the people that are inside it than
yeah,
the building itself, kind
for
of.
sure.
So if you're inviting bad energy and something that a demon would be drawn to, why not be a haunted
Yeah,
church? It could be.
yeah. No, I totally agree.
Mm.
I just never thought about it like that because I feel like it's so like at least Catholic churches specifically are like no
Yeah,
demons allowed.
right.
But I don't know, maybe that's not fully true.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of negative stuff that goes on with the Catholic
A
Church,
lot of
so
negative stuff. And if you haven't
yeah.
listened to that episode about the Vatican, go
Yeah, that's
listen.
right. Good plug.
Oh man. Well, this was a fun one.
Yeah.
you guys send us your spooky stories at girlsgonespooky@gmail.com and rate and review us so other people can find our podcast.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll see you next week. And then we have a little bit of a hiatus. So one more episode, and then I think we're off for 2 weeks. So until next week, stay spooky.
Stay spooky. Bye.
Bye.